Hi everyone! Welcome to Monica's Singapore Kitchen. Today I'll be making puff pastry from scratch and use this puff pastry to make kaya puffs. Although we can buy puff pastry, there are many advantages of making it by ourselves. Homemade puff pastry will usually puff a little more impressively and have a more delicate texture. Personally, I find the homemade version less oily. Also, it is much cheaper to make it by ourselves. I know that making puff pastry from scratch and by hand can seem incredibly daunting, but the results are truly worth the effort, I promise. The process is relaxing, almost therapeutic. Come along with me to see how this pastry is made. First, we will use 750 grams of plain flour, add 8 grams of salt. So mix the salt thoroughly with the flour. Then we are going to add 75 grams of softened butter. So I'm going to go in with my hands. So using my fingers, I'm going to use the rubbing in technique where the flour is rubbed into the butter using the fingertips until the mixture resembles breadcrumbs. Something like this. Then we are going to add cold water and you can add all at one go. The cold water is added to help the proteins in the dough form gluten when they are worked. So slowly swirl the thing around, mix them around, and then gather all the flour bits, the pieces of flour, so that it forms a ball. So eventually you can see that a ball is formed, a dough ball, and the bowl should stay clean, yes? Come out clean like that, no more flour on it. So at this stage, what we need to do is to take out the dough ball and knead it on a work surface. I knead the dough by hand as I do not have a stand mixer. I use the heel of my palm. I push it into the ball of the dough, stretching it away from me. Then I lift the far side of the dough up and slightly stretch it upwards. Then fold it into half back towards me. I continue rolling and folding for 5 minutes. Then it forms a ball like this. Then what I did was to weigh it. So we are going to see what is the mass of this dough ball. It's about 1206 grams. So it's easier to work with 2 equal dough. So I'm going to cut it into 2 so that it forms a smaller piece of dough. So each piece should be around 600 grams. Okay, so this is about 600 grams. So then the other piece should also be around about 600 grams. Okay, so around about 600 grams. Okay. And then we're going to wrap each of this dough ball using the cling wrap. So you might ask how to make this roll ball to be nice and circular sphere. So what I did was to, first of all, we can palm the dough with a slightly cupped hand, then push down the dough ball, roll the ball around and round under the palm using the cup sides of the hand to keep the ball centered. Then we are going to wrap this dough ball with the cling wrap as well. So resulting in 2 nice roll balls. Okay, so we need to rest these dough balls for about 10 minutes to relax the gluten and make the dough easier to roll out and shape later on. So 10 minutes later, we take one of the roll balls. So we are going to seal the margarine sheet inside the dough. So the lamination fat that I'm using is margarine pastry sheets, which I bought from the local baking store. This I put it into a sandwich bag and roll it into a sheet using a rolling pin. I have chosen margarine pastry sheets as they are characterized by their plasticity, which allows the margarine to be worked with and folded without breaking and becoming greasy. Furthermore, margarine sheets do not melt so easily compared to butter, especially in sunny, hot Singapore. This enables us to work at room temperature. However, working in an air-conditioned room is recommended as this really helps to firm up the dough, making it easier to roll. So we pat down the dough and then roll it using a rolling pin so that the length of the dough will become 2 times the length of the margarine sheet. So I've made the margarine sheet about 16 cm square. So we need 32 cm for this dough. So continue to roll until the length of this dough is 32 cm. Okay, something like this. So it should be enough, the length. So what we need then is to place the margarine sheet so that the edges is about 1 cm from the edge. Yeah, so we need some space to seal the edge. So the length is 32 cm for the dough, twice the length of the margarine sheet. So don't forget to take out the plastic bag, the sandwich bag. So all I did was to use a pair of scissors to cut it off. Okay, so align the margarine sheet so that the center of the sheet is coincident with the center of the dough. Fold the bottom flap up and the top flap down so that the two seams overlap one another. Okay, pinch the seams like so, and don't forget to pinch the sides as well. So we want to encase the margarine sheet within the dough. So make sure that it is all pinched nicely like so. So all we need to do now is to wrap this piece with a piece of cling wrap and let it rest for 10 minutes. So you can rest it at room temperature on the countertop, or you can put it inside the fridge to chill it if your dough is a bit soft. Yeah, so if it is a bit soft, so you need to make it a bit firm so that it's easier to roll later on. So otherwise, just put it on the countertop for 10 minutes. So you're going to do the same for the second set of dough. So just laminate the margarine sheet like so. Okay, seal all the edges. And then we are going to wrap this second set of dough using the cling wrap as well. So after wrapping, we also need to rest it for about 10 minutes. So 10 minutes later, take the first set out. So we are going to roll this dough into a long piece before we start folding it. So basically we are trying to create the 81 layers that is normally created for puff pastries. So we start by brushing the dough with a little bit of flour using a soft brush. So brush away any extra flour because it will cause the dough to become hard if there's flour on it. So once you have enough flour, the dough should slide easily, and this is an important thing so that when we roll, the top and the bottom faces will move together. Yep, so making the distribution of the margarine even. So as usual, from the center roll down, from the center roll up. So this procedure will enable the margarine to spread evenly within the dough. So before any flipping, we will brush it, and first with flour, and then we are going to flip it. So every time in between flipping, we gradually thin down the dough by approximately 3 millimeters at one time. So try not to thin it down suddenly, so the distribution of the margarine will not be even. So do it gradually, yeah? So from the center down, from the center up. So every set of this will result in thinning the dough by 3 millimeters until the dough is about 5 millimeters in thickness. The length should be approximately 60 centimeters. So we are going to make our first double fold. So that's how it's done, yeah? So this is the first double fold, turn it 90 degrees. And now we have 3 layers of margarine in our dough. So that's what we have created. So the open sides, let it face the top and the bottom. That means away from you and towards you. Flour it, flip, and then from the center, roll down, and from the center, roll up as well. So we are going to make this dust and flip step a few times until we reach 60 cm length again. Okay, make our double fold, and now we end up with 9 layers of margarine. Okay, so then we're going to rest it for 10 minutes at this point because it's resisting rolling now, and the resting is to enable the gluten to relax so that it is easier for us to roll out subsequently. So I just wrap it with cling wrap and put it aside. Do the same thing for the second set of dough. So 10 minutes later, it has nicely rested already. So what we need to do then is to start to make our third fold. So remember to take out the plastic cling wrap, and then what we need to do is to dust it first. Yeah. So we put a little bit of flour on the surface. Brush aside any extra flour. Okay, so when you flip it, the dough should move easily without resistance. Something like this. Okay, so that's good. So we also flour the top surface so that the rolling pin does not get stuck to the dough. So from the center, roll down, and from the center, roll up. So remember to only thin it for about 3 millimeters each time in between the dusting and flipping. Okay. So continue to do this. The puff pastry requires more layers of paper-thin layers of dough separated by margarine compared to Danish pastry. It requires 81 layers. This is because the puff pastry does not contain yeast. The rise in the puff pastry is caused solely by the steam and margarine to create that flaky, multi-layered crunch we all crave for. For Danish pastry, however, it has yeast to help with the rise. So once you've, roll it to 60 cm, make your double fold, and now we have created 27 layers of margarine. So turn it 90 degrees so that the open sides are facing away and towards you. So again, dust and flip, and we are going to roll it to make our fourth fold. So from center, roll down, from center, roll up. Dust and flip. So continue doing this gradually thin it down until we get a rectangle that is about 60 cm in length and 5 millimeters in thickness. So then we make our fourth double fold, so resulting in 81 layers of margarine. Okay, so at this point we are going to rest it for a while before we roll and shape into the kaya puffs. Okay, do the same thing for the other set. Okay, 10 minutes later, the closed side of the dough facing away from you, we are going to increase the width of the dough to slightly more than 22 cm. Basically, we want to get a rectangle that has a width of 22 cm, slightly more than that. So gently roll it to broaden the width. Okay, so looks like it is sufficient for our 22 cm. So I use a ruler to measure, and oh yes, it is enough. Yeah, the width is just nice. So now turn 90 degrees so that the open ends are facing away and towards you. We are going to increase the length of the dough to slightly more than 44 cm. So from the center, roll down, from the center, roll up repeatedly and gradually until you form a rectangle. So this rectangle must have a dimension of 22 cm by 44 cm. So I use a pizza cutter to cut the edges to form this rectangle. So measure 22 cm, that will form the width of our rectangle. So I can afford to cut a little bit on the left side. Okay, also cut the bottom so that the length is 44 cm. Okay, this results in a rectangle of width 22 cm and length 44 cm. You can use this dough to make a variety of puff pastries. I have made, using this dough, strawberry almond pastries, savory pockets, blueberry, blueberry turnovers, apple strudel. And this is the kaya turnover that I made, and I will show you in the later part of the video how to make this kaya turnover. I usually make more so that I can give to relatives, neighbors, and friends. So now I show you how to make kaya turnover. Remember the rectangle that we had? So we need to cut this rectangle into 8 equal squares, each measuring 11 cm square. So one set of dough will result in 8 squares. So we've got 2 sets, so we will get 16 squares out of this recipe. Okay, so all these are our squares. We just put it aside, yeah. Okay, so you can see at the side, each square has 81 layers of margarine. So we prepare our egg wash, which consists of 1 egg and 1 tablespoon of milk. I didn't have milk, I ran out of milk, so I used water. But if you do have milk, please use milk, as this addition enables your puff pastry to be not too brown. Yeah, so we don't want it to be too brown after baking. So fold such that the bottom side coincides with the 1/3 below the top side. Yeah, and then use a paring knife to cut slits about 1 cm in interval. Make sure that there's 1 cm on each side remaining. So we are going to just dab the egg wash at the edges like so. And I have used the low fat or low sugar, low sugar kaya, yeah, Nyonya kaya, which I bought from the supermarket. You can put any filling. Gently tap the sides, yeah, press the sides. Do not press too much, otherwise it will kill all the layers that we have painstakingly developed. So put it on a baking tray lined with baking paper. So we have 8 pieces on each tray. So I've got 2 trays because I have 16 pieces. So use the egg wash and a nice soft brush to gently brush each piece. Now we are ready to bake them in a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for about 20 to 24 minutes with the fan on. Put it at the lowest third rack. So 20 minutes later, our kaya puffs are ready. They look golden brown and airy. They smell so good. Cool them on a wire rack before enjoying them. Look at the beautiful layers we have created. These layers are responsible for the flaky, multi-layered crunch we all crave for. It has a wonderful margarine aroma. It tastes slightly salty, which is nicely balanced by the sweet kaya filling. Baked plain puff pastry can be put into an airtight container for up to a week. Filled puff pastries are best eaten right away. Unbaked puff pastries can be stored in the freezer for up to 6 months. So I also glaze it with my apricot glaze, which I added 2 tablespoons of apricot glaze with 2 tablespoons of water. I boil it and then I brush it on hot pastry. So let's take one and let's have a look and see what is inside. Ooh, it looks so delicious. Yeah, all the layers are formed. I do hope that you will give this recipe a try someday. Thanks for stopping by, and as always, happy cooking!